You're recording, Jane.
No, I don't set it to automatically record because of our how we start off. Okay, so it's gonna be a little bit different tonight. Not our usual, even though this is only our third lecture. Um, but first I just kind of wanted to do just an open floor preliminary check-in. You know, the season changed, Taylor had it right on the head. We're finding our ground, we're figuring out our footing. Um, some of us had to um, juggle kids starting school, and all that. So I just wanted to give a couple minutes to open the floor and do a preliminary check-in if anybody felt like it would be helpful to just express yourself, get something off your chest so you just feel more settled and receptive to the rest of our time together.
I'll go. I messaged Jen earlier this week. So far or maybe it was last week, I can't remember. So far I've taken the time to have a phone call with her in each unit. And I didn't get around to that this time. For like you mentioned, Jane, with the back to school, my kids are not in school yet, but going back to school and driving bus, it just these 6 weeks have felt really draining in a lot of ways. But I feel like I'm turning a corner and like it's just moving forward. But that's me personally. The back to school thing is kind of draining. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
You're busy.
Oh my God. I'm always busy. You should see my work calendars, like meeting on just one day. I finally had a talk with my boss and told her that I need help and they probably should make another position for another program director because I can't share enough of myself with the staff that I have under me right now. So, because our maternal child health floor has like super expanded this past 2 years. And so we're doing many, many things, and we have more employees than ever. The most employees DIW has ever had. So, um, uh, and I feel guilty not being able to. I felt guilty not being able to support each employee like I should. Um, so I finally reached out and said, "Hey, I need help. We need to find another person." So that's off my chest. The other thing I had to a very difficult thing. It's kind of related to birth work and home visiting, and I think I told Pearl about this, but there is a person. I can't get too specific, but there's a person in the community, and I have to kind of like get this off my chest. There's not here, not in the midwifery community, but she's a birth worker of some sorts and a lactation person, and I had to really push and advocate for her to be removed from our home visiting pilot with the Birth Justice Collaborative because she took a newborn baby home twice, the same one, with a mother that was, what is the word for it? She was a vulnerable adult. There you go. And so she could, I really felt like if anybody found out or anybody made a report, that she would have hurt the Birth Justice Collaborative in so many different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Oh my gosh. Yep.
And her co-worker from where she's at. So like we're the overall affiliate, but they're a little bit separate. They're separate from us, but they're not. So her coworker, who is the supervisor of the other agency, came back at me and she said, I am traumatized because of how you guys handled the situation, and she is no longer with us. And I just couldn't, I just don't understand why she felt that way. Because we all could have been traumatized if people found out.
Yeah, the whole program could have been a lot more than just traumatized. Like,
yeah. So,
hmm.
but that's like about a week and a half ago. So I'm still like feeling those feelings. I'm trying to let it go.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. That, I mean,
You did
in a lot of ways. Sorry, go ahead, Auntie.
I was going to say you did a wonderful job. You didn't have to think twice about it. And if you had to think twice about it, it probably wouldn't have ended the way it did.
Yeah.
Because maybe you would have been, but you cannot, when we're mandated reporters, you have to do that. There's just no way around it. And don't feel bad about it, baby's safe. And whoever else is going to come back at you, just don't go there. You did what you did, and if you have to write something up on it, then do it. But don't feel bad about it.
To be honest, we actually addressed it the first time it happened. And their supervisors did nothing.
Yeah, that supervisor probably shouldn't even be in that position.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big one.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing, because that's very succinctly is why we need to create this time, because we are in situations, and we're going to be in situations where there's lots of feels and lots of heaviness, and even when we know that we're doing the right thing and the responsible thing, and we're having integrity for the whole program, like, it doesn't mean that the emotions aren't there. And this is a really common reason why birth workers get burnt out, because it is such an emotional work. I know both my twin and I have sometimes perceived an unpopular opinion when this gets labeled as a calling, but it doesn't negate the fact that it is hard work. Like, our emotions are invested in this work. It can't not be, and these experiences don't care what's going on at home, but that doesn't mean that we don't have just as much emotion and heart work invested in what's going on in our personal lives and our home lives. And it can be very, very easy for our birth support situations and our home needs and demands to cross and bleed into each other and kind of feed each other in a really burning out way. That's not the right verb, but it burns us out really, really fast. And because it is a very specific type of person that can do this work, we're very empathetic, and we're very we have, a lot of us have a hard time creating space and creating distance between sympathy and versus empathy. And that's part of what our intention is to help you guys understand now. And that's part of the reason why we felt like focusing on self in these first units was really, really important. None of my didactic programs emphasize the importance on this, because it's actually not, it's not a fluid topic in the midwifery profession. We just all kind of accept that burnout's a thing and it's going to happen to you, and, you know, tighten up your boot laces even tighter and just keep going through it. Well, I disagree with that. And I think that figuring out self-care and figuring out how to allow ourselves to feel those feels and then help ourselves sort through those feelings, and then figuring out what we need to carry and what we don't need to carry, because we extrapolate what we need to extrapolate from it, and then we let it go. We don't need to carry it anymore. And compartmentalizing, and you're gonna hear me talk about it a lot, because I have not come across anywhere in the midwifery world where that is a addressed skill, much less a valued skill, much less a taught skill. You know, we always kind of hear this thing of leave it at the door. Well, what does that mean? Okay, cool, that's a nice, cute little saying, but how do we do that? So those are some of the practices that we're trying to help you incorporate into your self-care. Because unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because it's just a fact, in rural midwifery, we don't get tag-ins. You know, there aren't 10 other midwives serving our community where we can take a break and you know, there's someone there to fill in the other community needs. So we felt it was really important to talk about this skill, this compartmentalizing, but not in the sense of like, oh, box it up and put it aside and never look at it again. Okay, because that's its own recipe for a different kind of burnout, and that's very self-destructive, and it's not gonna help your community. It's definitely not gonna help you, and more importantly, it's not gonna help your family and, you know, the immediate people that really, really rely on you. So that's a lot of our intention behind why we feel like doing some of these structures, or encouraging you to do some of these self-explorations and make that inward turn, and figuring out what your self-practice is for care and internal support is.
And I would add that there comes a time when you make a decision and then you act on that decision, and there's a causeway that happens between that feeling of confidence. Like Shoshana, when you said, I feel really guilty about this, I feel like this could have been this really, really horrible thing. But you stood your ground anyway, and you did what was right. And that's probably the crux of rural midwifery. You're going to have to make a decision on the fly, and it may affect many, many, many people.
Mm-hmm. Did you freeze, or are you making a dramatic pause there, twin?
Best intentions, but this is low-key dangerous.
Oh, there you go.
You know, like being able to say, I made a decision and I stood with it, and you know, come what may, this is where I'm going to be confident. And I think that is rural midwifery in a nutshell, where you're going to have to ask to do these things of yourself. And like Auntie said, make your decision and let it be what it's going to be. And I think that you know, we're not trying to make it sound harder than it is. And we're not trying to make it, sunshine and rainbows, because it's not that either. Like we're trying to give you these scenarios that have hindered us in some way. But I don't think you should ever feel bad about doing the right thing and speaking up for somebody who it sounds like has a muted voice, right? If you're a vulnerable person, there's nobody speaking for you. So thank goodness that you said, hey, this might seem okay to you. We've already addressed this with you, but this is not okay. This could potentially have a huge fallout. And if you get pushback from that, I don't know, I would say send them my way, but that's probably not the right position to take, but you were confident, you knew what was right, and you acted on it. And that is the bare bones of a great midwife in the making. And to stand on it. And that's solid. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that as we go along tonight, I think that my twin and I are going to try to relate all of these things to what we see currently happening, and how we can kind of reel everybody back in, so that's all I got for now. Thank you for that, though, because it's setting a good tone, and you didn't even know it.
Yep, it is. I really appreciate it. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to segue into things, and Shoshana figured it out for me. So thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because tonight's going to be a little different. It's I don't want to say we have to step back, but I am going to say I think we need to take this time to focus on some of our foundational things, because this is the last unit before we get into the deep and heavies. Okay, so next unit is the start of anatomy and physiology, and medical terminology, and it's the big dive. Like, it's the big step into the deep pool that we're not going to spend any more. We intentionally chose not to do kind of the quintessential units on business development and how to run a business and blah 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 blah, because that's very individual. Some of us aren't going to really look at this as a business, and I don't know. I didn't want to write a unit like that because I think it's kind of a waste of time, but not the point. The point is I think we need to take this time to really shore up our foundational things, because this is our last time. This is our last time in the water that we can be standing in, and our feet still touch the ground. Our next step is into the deep and heavy coursework, because this is a master's level intensive academic course. So that being said, I'm changing it to house building. We're going to take this time to really patch up cracks, loose spots, crevices, uncertainties, and get everybody's foundational aspects like completely solid. Okay. So, office hours. Okay. Tuesdays, AMs with Jade, Thursdays, PMs with me. I did throw out, I kind of tested the water like a couple weeks ago to see if it would be helpful if my PM was moved up to 8 o'clock or something. And I feel like our office hours are being very underutilized, and I feel like I can say that because nope, go away, please. Okay, thank you. Now go away. I feel like other things are reflective of that. You know, like there's some miscommunication or misunderstandings about submission or other things, like, and those are all clarifications. Like that's why we have our office hours. That's why we felt it was so important to have as much of I don't know, I guess like college type structure, support availability. You know, we don't want to leave you dangling in the wind with a bunch of unanswered questions, so we're not going to let you. Does anybody have any strong feelings about office hours? Like, is there a time that's gonna serve you guys better? Do we want to change the dates? Do you want to change the times? Like, just any feedback about office hours?
I can't do mornings.
Okay.
That's my
So
feedback. I can do evenings.
Okay.
But not mornings. That's
Okay.
my feedback.
No, we would definitely still want to have one morning and one evening for exactly that. Is 9 good for you?
Yeah, that's better for me. The kids are in bed.
Right? Okay. Anybody else, or are we just kind of, and maybe it'll change, you know, once we get into the more of the didactic things, you know, maybe you guys will be banging down our doors every office hour. Who knows? But we just want to go over everything and make sure that if there's anything that we can make stronger, that we examine and do those things now before we're really diving into it next unit.
So I just have a question about office hours. It was my understanding that office hours were like if we had any questions on the unit, things like that. Do you feel like it's a good idea just to check in, even if we don't have any questions? Or
if you want to. I mean, if you want, it really is if you have any questions or clarifications. And like I said, maybe you haven't, and that's okay. And maybe that's going to change now that we get into the next units, you know, when we get into the A&P and when we get into hormones and all the next stuff. So maybe that'll change. And really just my intention is right now, if there's any need, you know, if starting at 8:30 in the morning is better for you, or, you know, if there's any place that we can make it better, even if it's like a 15-minute adjustment, or, you know, maybe Monday mornings are better for you, or if I just want to address any area that we can make things better.
Right. Or do most of you work Monday through Friday and a Saturday morning is easier? Right? Like I can do this next week. I'm going to have to change my office hours to either Wednesday or Thursday because I have to be out of town to meet with my surgeon. But I can do any day of the week. If it's easier to know all office hours are on Thursday, for example, either Thursday morning or Thursday evening, really it's for you guys. Now, whether or not, if you have the availability to check in and be like, hey, I'm good, I'm just checking in, cool. We keep a running tally of who shows up, what do we talk about, what are some of the things that we address, so that when Jane and I get together and we're talking in our own time, we could say, oh, hey, Taylor got on office hours and she brought up a couple of good points, and here's how we address that. And here's how I think that maybe we should make a post or an email or, you know, whatever. Or, hey, Taylor made a good deal and we're going to sit with that. That's Taylor's gig. I'm sorry, I'm calling you out, Taylor. That's not what I'm trying to do, but your face is right next to mine. So, but those are, you know, but it's for availability. If you guys have any questions about the unit, if you have any questions about like when it needs to be submitted, you know what I mean? Because obviously there's some disconnect there. We want to be able to be available to you guys at the time and place that it's going to be the best fit for you guys. We have some flexibility. I function better in the mornings. I could do as early as 6 o'clock in the morning because I'm awake and I have coffee and I'm ready to go, right? Most people are not that motivated in their day, right? So we picked the timelines that we picked because we figured, well, if people are dropping their kids off at school, you know, things like that, they could get back, whatever. But you guys tell us, like, the program is for you. But when we sit on a call for an hour and a half, and then we get school emails about things that could have been addressed in office hours, that's hard, right? We could have addressed these things as a collective. And now we're putting out fires that really, you know, shouldn't be the bulk of mine and Jane's day, or even Auntie Millicent's day, right? So I guess this is your guys' last call, man. If you guys want to change it, you know, let us know.
I usually can't do Tuesday mornings too often. Sometimes we have a check-in meeting at work, but you know, my Fridays can be pretty flexible. And I have tried to join the evening time, but I haven't been able to. But I can probably make any evening time work. If I can't join the morning time.
Would you like the morning day to switch to Friday? Would that feel helpful?
That would be helpful for me. I don't know how others feel.
Does anybody have a strong objection to the morning office hours being moved to Fridays?
I think Fridays would work for me as well, a bit better for the morning. Because it's not like a clinic day or anything like that, so I'm less busy. Well, I'm still busy, but no clinic.
Does it being at 9 o'clock still, is that good? Is 8:30 better?
I think 9 o'clock's good for me just because it also helps whatever I'm doing, like getting the kids to school, figuring out the day and making the time for that. It's enough time to do that too.
Okay, Pearl, is 9 okay?
Yeah, 9's a good time.
Okay, so not this coming week, but when we start Unit 4, we'll be switching to the AM office hour being on from 9 to 10:30 on Friday, and the PM will stay Thursday from 9 to 10:30 PM. Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying is going to be most helpful?
I really have tried to get on the 9 o'clock one, but like 8:58 hits and I'm out.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so then when I post Unit 4, that's what we're saying. Is everybody good with this? Okay. Okay. So, all right, Dr. Jen's availability. Super customizable. And again, you know, maybe this is just reflective of the first couple units. But just as a reiteration, because we're going to really take this time to examine all of our foundational pillars. Does anybody have any questions or clarifications about Dr. Jen's availability?
I promise I'm gonna schedule an hour with her. This unit. I even told her she's not escaping me.
Okay. Well, I wish I don't wish, but she literally lives to support students. I grew up with it. That's her jam. That's her jelly and her jam is being available for student support and development. So,
And I'll just say, like, I've really felt that on the calls that we have had. So yes, that's a great feature you guys have put into this course. So props to you.
well, thanks. I'm glad it feels helpful. Anything else? Dr. Mommy, do you want to chime in here too? Dr. Mommy, Okay. She probably can't find her unmute button on her phone. Love you, Mom.
Yeah, that was my fault.
Okay, so the big one.
Am I
Deep breath.
muted?
Okay, there you go. Mom.
I'm trying not to cry, Jane, by what you said, having lived with me your life, but it is my jelly and my jam. And I watch my emails, I watch your texts, I watch WhatsApp. As soon as I catch it, I try to communicate back with you. I will always ask you what fits best for your time for our next communication. And in that, you will always have my full attention. And I really have to say the people that have taken advantage of having things, drafts kind of just previewed or glance through, you women are you're strong, capable students. I want you to believe in yourself, and I'll push your shoulder blades a little bit, but I'm just amazed at the cohort you have developed. People, it's just an amazing group. So thank you for this opportunity to work along with you. I'm muting myself now.
Okay. Thanks, Mom. I do want to remember to reiterate that what you visit with Dr. Jen doesn't get aired out to us. Okay, so I don't want you to feel like anything like that. Like we do have conversations, but it'll always be in context of, well, a student reached out to me and she had this question, if she felt the frustration here. And again, that's feedback where we can, if there's something that we need to address either in the unit or in the lecture, then we can do so. But it's not set in a way where we're taking everybody's inventory and marking the tally marks about, what am I trying to say? My brain's trying to say I need another sip of coffee, but I already ran out of my coffee, guys. So I don't know how the rest of this lecture is going to go. Sorry in advance. Jokes. Anyway, my whole point is I don't want you guys to feel like, you're the topic of your singled out and individualized. We do talk about things. Dr. Jen does give us feedbacks about, what students are asking for help for or support for. But, it's not in neon signs about who's getting support or direction about what. Okay, so take a deep breath. Submission deadlines. Okay, so our week starts on Monday and it ends on Sundays. When we're asking for submissions in lecture weeks, that deadline is Sunday. Does that make sense?
Yep. I was freaking out when I saw the post on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
We're all good.
Our
I'm going
deadline
first.
for this week was Sunday, this past Sunday, 11:59.
Oh,
Yep. Because we need to read what you guys are submitting before the lecture. We need to know if there's something that we have to address in the lecture. So that gives us not even a lot of time, a couple days. So we're trying to cram Monday and Tuesday and half of Wednesday to read all your guys' submissions before lecture. Because otherwise, I mean, we need to know what directions that we need to go in. We need to know if there was a place that, you know, we need to talk more about, or give more research, or give more direction, or give more explanation. So the submission deadlines are the Sunday before lecture. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does make sense, but I totally took it as like due week 15. But the way you're saying it now makes so much more sense. And I apologize.
Okay. I did read back and it says by week 15, and I understand where the misunderstanding of that part could happen. I will be more clear in saying, you know, and this is part of why we're doing this now. Okay, because this is where we're ironing all of this out. Because in the next units, you know, we're gonna start having quizzes, and we're gonna start having case studies, and we're gonna, you know, there's gonna be more. And if there isn't a specific day, like some of the quizzes will be like, okay, this quiz is open for the next 24 hours, you know, and those will all be okay. It's open from Wednesday at noon to Tuesday at noon, you know. But if it's like an essay, or if it's, I don't think we probably won't have any more book reports. But if it's like short essay response or case study review, those are all going to be due before lecture, because we need the time to read as much as we can, as fast as we can. And we don't want, I mean, we're not trying to, you know, accidentally infer for you guys to make your submission shorter. Okay, that's part of the reason why we did structure it as short essay, because we want you to feel like you're fully expressing your thought process and your understanding of it, you know. And we enjoy reading it. I mean, we really do. We really, really do. But we need time to read it, to understand where your guys' understanding is at, because then we can make a better lecture. Otherwise, we have no idea. We have no idea where you guys are at, you know. And, you know, basically, and we know we're cutting ourselves short with only giving ourselves 2.5 days, because, you know, we got same full plate on one hand. Family. Well, don't be hurting your sister. See, I'm solo parenting for the next 10 days, and my little daughter just hurt the big daughter. So anyway, but this is why we're taking this time to do this now.
Okay, I was just going to type this, but I'm just going to say it instead. Do people love or hate the idea of me creating a shared Google Calendar? Because I feel like it could be helpful.
That's up to you guys. That's up to you guys as a group. Whatever you guys want to get together and create together, that's totally up to you guys what you create. We are building this house, we're building this community. Whatever you guys want to get together and create together, either shared calendar or shared study materials or whatever, like, have at it.
Yep, I love that idea, Taylor. Thank you. I was going to say that. If I had specific dates and reminders, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna do that this week after I finish my submissions.
I
Okay.
too got the Sunday wrong. I thought actually I should have gone with my initial thought. I thought it was this past Sunday, and then I was like, no, I have a couple days to finish the last part of this one essay, and I probably should have just done it as it was and submitted. But thank you for clarifying that piece, because now I will mark my calendar and my assignments that way instead.
Okay. And part of the reason too why we want everything prior to lecture is because then in that gap week, in that lecture week, you know, we want to make sure that we have time to mail out books and that you get those materials
Like this.
before our next calendar like starts that Monday, you know, because so it gives us some time to make sure that we're trying to get you the materials that we're able to, or communicate that, you know, we're not able to, and then you know, you guys can
In the front
source
seat.
those if needed. But for the next foreseeable units, Auntie has been able to source most or all or next to all of those books. But again, to reiterate that agreement too, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, so maybe I'll just wait. But you know, we do want to make sure that you're meeting us halfway, and we want to make sure that those submissions are completed before we mail them out. So that's the other reason why we're trying to give us as much time in that lecture week as we possibly can. And if we need any wiggle room, if because life happens, okay? And if we're trying to build in the buffer spaces for us and for you guys where we possibly can with still staying on track. Any other thoughts about this one? Okay, next big one. Why all the whys? Why are we doing it this way? So, and these are things that all these things we talked about before, but you know, we're, like I said, we're re-examining all of our house pillars, and we're strengthening and reinforcing, and we want you guys too to feel like we are being transparent with our reasonings, and we want you guys to understand our intentions. Okay. And you know, setting precedent is way at the bottom, because honestly, that's the byproduct. Like, we are setting a precedent. We're creating something in the midwifery world that is literally in no other course. Because between the four of us, you know, Twin, Auntie, even my mom, and all of our experiences in academia and programs, we are trying to create the most complete and comprehensive course as we possibly can for the uniqueness that is rural midwifery. She is an untamable beast. You're never going to conquer her, and it's going to change. Okay, rural midwifery is going to change because community needs change and women change.
Not this guy. That one's
Okay,
for my
and that's kind of, in the midwifery world, that's kind of like a popular argument. Well, that's not traditional midwifery because you guys have training on this and you know how to do this, and oh, I heard you carry this. Well, traditional midwifery is reflective of the women of the community. Okay, now if you are lucky enough to live in a community where women have grown up and not be influenced by the medical system, hold on to that unicorn and ride it all the miles. That is fantastic and wonderful. And it's not a bash. Either way, it's not a bash. But we do need to know these things. You know, we do need to know, what does traditional midwifery look like in its quote unquote definition. And I say it that way because I personally think that traditional midwifery is fluid, because women's needs are always changing. The community's needs are always changing. Okay. But we do need to know aspects of the medical system. Okay. And that's why we do think it's really important that we include that. You know, our intention is that you complete this study, course program study, and you are a peer. You're a peer. Okay. You don't have to spend, you know, the first 6 or 7 or 8 or 12 years feeling less than or being degraded, like not internally, but there is, even in the midwifery hierarchy, we're kind of looked at the bottom, and they get surprised when we know all these things. That if there's a need for transfer for additional support, oh, your midwife told you that you needed a BPP. Oh, your unlicensed midwife thinks
Your lay midwife?
Yeah.
Your lay midwife?
Oh, your unlicensed midwife is saying that you need to be that you have polyhydramnios. Well, what does your lay midwife know about it? Okay, but those are really real things. And I mean, it entertains me when they roll their eyes, but then we end up being right anyway. And maybe that's not the style that you develop, and that's okay. Okay, that's totally okay. Maybe when you first start supporting families, you only carry 5 tinctures, and if it doesn't fall within the realm of those 5 tinctures, you transfer care. That's okay. Okay, we're not saying that you have to be ready to support in our style out of the gates, because my style didn't even look like my style 10 years ago. Okay, but what we do want to provide for you is to be able to avoid all the boulders and all the potholes that it took us to figure out what works best for us in rural midwifery, because nobody else is trying to figure out what's really needed in rural midwifery. Okay, there seems to be just this acceptance of like the division of, you know, you're either the backwoods granny that goes with the kitchen scissors and a shoelace and, you know, some dried licorice root, or, you know, you're the CPM that carries what's the O2, not the O2, you know what I'm thinking about, the pressure, not the pressurized O2, anyway, like all the things.
Like the T-piece.
Yeah, the TPs and the laryngoscopes and, you know, whatever else. Okay, well, we're coming into this arguing that it's shades of both. It's shades of both, because you will get families on all ends of the spectrum. You might get a family that literally only wants you to walk in the door with a shoestring to tie off the cord, and that's all they want from you. Or you might get a family that's on the far end, like, what do you mean you can't do an IV for us? What do you mean I have to go in for a little bit of pit or a little bit of miso? Okay. Or what do you mean I have to go in for 2 sutures? And we've seen all areas of that spectrum on both of the extremes. Like, I literally got asked, so when do you give me my epidural? And I'm like, well, I don't.
I think what I would add here too is that it's not how we practice that we want you to be your takeaway. We want you to develop your own style of practice that is unique to your community. That is what traditional midwifery is. It's adapting what you've learned to how it's best going to meet the needs of your community.
Mm-hmm.
I have some people that they feel really great knowing that I have some pharmaceuticals in my bag and training to use those. And I have other people that don't want any of that at all. And all of those people are within the scope of how I practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want you guys. We don't need carbon copies of my twin and I. We really don't. That's a frightening construct in my mind. What I want you to do is to look at what is the best part of Jade's practice style that I think that I can implement. And oh, maybe I feel more aligned with Jane's practice style. The whole point of having both of us is so that we can comment on the structure of rural midwifery.
And maybe you integrate things that neither of us do. There's midwives out there that still do pelvimetry for every single client. Okay, and that's okay. Okay. Part of our intention too with these first units, aside from, you know, the encouragement of the internal self-examinations, is to get ready for these next units coming up. Okay. For some of us, it's been a while since we've had to incorporate basically a full credit load into our life. You know, some of us did the last time with kids, some of us did it. Okay. Some of us never have. Okay. But Buffalo stepped on you. Oh, sorry, there was a spider right in my face. Anyway. So these first units were a warm-up too of how to integrate the workload into your already busy and full lives. Okay. So, and that was things that we were thinking about of what, you know, how do we structure this? How do we help them ease into having to read, you know, a couple hundred pages in one textbook, and it was also part of the reason why we go through the textbook and we're like, okay, well, from page 79 to page 206 is the only section in this chapter that is pertinent to this unit. Okay. Well, we do have lots of books, but probably none of them will you read in their entirety. Okay, because we are going through them and like, well, this is the 10 pages in this chapter that we want you to focus on. Okay, so we're really trying to narrow down because it is intensive work, and we all have full lives too. You know?
And we want you to not be of the mind of credit and forget it.
Yeah.
You can read through Varney's all day long if you want, and Fry, any of them. But when you have a hemorrhage, you're going to wish that you read the 30 pages on hemorrhage and that you got that down, that you focused on that instead of some of the ideology in the.
It's like her computer puts her in timeout.
Right. Slow your roll. Take a breath.
But the things that we're trying to extrapolate from us, am I all glitchy again?
Yep.
Yep. I'm trying to, I don't know why Elon Musk is failing me today. We're trying to get you to skip the milk.
Yep.
And have the meat.
Yep.
Because the meat is going to serve you.
Yep. And that's what's going to stick. Like, that's what's really going to stick in your brain. And you know, it's part of the reason why the questions that we ask, we don't spoon feed it to you in the sense of like, well, these 5 questions are all found in this chapter of this book. Okay. They could be. However, you might have to source something else. And what sticks in my brain when I have to source something is different than what sticks in Twinsie's brain. Okay. But we also like, hey, do you have a literature on this one? Send it my way. Okay. And that's part of the reason why we're asking you to keep track of those sources too, because we're building that collaborative library of sourcing. Like, where did you find?
Mom, am I a Hufflepuff?
Because when you guys graduate, you're going to have an entire folder full of handouts and coursework that everybody contributed to. Oh man, Amaris found that great quote. Where is that? Well, it's gonna be in the folder that Dr. Jen is compiling, which is why we want those separate notations and citations, because we don't want to have to go through all of your coursework again to find it.
Yep.
So if it's in a separate submission, it's easy for us to just send all of those to Dr. Jen and have her download them and have them put them in a thing for us.
Yep. And for this unit, I did forget to make a box for that, but we are going to rectify that. And that is going to be something that, you know, I'm going to add for every unit. Okay. Also, you know, working with what we got. Okay, we're trying to literally cover the distance in 2 countries and thousands of miles to build our community net. And this is the best way that we can do that, you know, and it's also why we took into consideration basically the concept of some warm-up units, because not everybody's done an online course. Okay, and we're trying to cut away as many growing pains as possible, but we are going to have some, and we have had some. Like, I didn't know that creating a submission block, and even though it says open-ended, you can only do 1 submission. So now we know that. Like, that doesn't make sense in my ADHD brain. When I click the, you know, allow uploading, like, my ADHD brain is like, oh, open-ended, like you can submit more than 1. Well, now I found out we can't. Okay. And in that sense, like, we need you too. We need that feedback, because I don't know what it looks like on the student side of stuff. Anything coming up? Any questions? Any thoughts?
Can I add something here on growing pains?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I've seen, and I might have mentioned this once before, but I have taught on 6 or 7 different emergent online platforms, and teachable is teachable, but it's not necessarily friendly. So that has its own growing pain, what to post in WhatsApp, where and how to communicate, when to, if you have a serious issue, you know, that things that should go to the leadership in the formal course email. I want to say this without stepping on anybody's toes. If somebody has felt cut off or shut down, I want you to be just forgiving of that we're just trying to clean up where to communicate, when to post major, I'm having an issue with whatever, belongs in the formal course email to the leadership. It doesn't belong on a chit chat in WhatsApp. And I just saying that's part of the growing pains, and we need to just let it go and move forward from here if we could.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's, you know, it's things that we're really trying to be cognizant about, because we do wholeheartedly want this course to be as complete as possible, so you do feel totally ready to support a family. Okay, not in the sense that you will know absolutely everything, because you won't. Okay, you won't, but you'll know enough to know what you don't know, and you'll know enough to know what you're comfortable in supporting and what you're not comfortable in supporting. Okay, because that's it, and we'll talk about it, and you'll see the changes along the way of what you feel like you're comfortable in versus competent in, versus, you know, you have a comfortable knowledge base versus you have a mastery knowledge base. Okay, and part of that too is the interaction in the lectures. You know, we call them lectures because that's really the best term that we're all familiar with. But we're trying to build in, you know, the whole concept of having a public speaking course without having a public speaking class per se. You know, so those things are going to start to get integrated now into the next units too, or we're going to have times where, you know, you guys practicing conveying knowledge back, you know, and we'll get into that one more later. So, okay, school email, like Dr. Jen was saying, does everybody have this one written down? It's just program name @gmail.com. But this is, you know, we all of the staff have access to this one. You know, anything that you want to clarify or express, or, you know, and if this is it. Okay, we all tracking on this one? Yeah, throw some thumbs up. I can't see anybody's face. Okay. Course materials too. You know, I already touched on the books. And the next courses, there's going to be some PDFs more PDFs attached to the unit. We talked about the source documents. We're gonna, I'm gonna put one up for this unit. We're going to start including that in all the units.
I'm just taking it away from me.
Okay, you're not bleeding. Please go. Love you so. Because not only are we building our library, but, you know, we're building our reference library too. And, you know, someone's always finding a gem or creating a gem. You know, there's study tools, there's flashcards, there's you know, on Etsy, there's one gal that literally makes study guides for midwifery.
Rural midwifery.
Rural midwifery. She's out of the UK, but I mean, her stuff is golden. Like, it's fan-stinking-tastic. You know, and not to spill the beans, but we are hoping to access some of those for skills days. But yeah, but there's and yeah, and we're trying to do things in the side wings about funding, so we can always make sure that that we can provide everything that we can provide, because it's a huge barrier in any educational program, and we're trying to offset that as best as we can. Because we have in-person gatherings, you know, and for this first one, we are going to be able to assist with traveling, but that might not always be the case. So we are committed in trying to offset it with providing materials. Okay. Again, we're always gonna keep you abreast of the timeline. There's no new topics in the in-person gatherings. It's literally going to be the practice and the hands-on portion and the in-person interaction of everything that we have learned prior to. Okay, there will be no new topics. It's going to be absolutely from day one to gathering number one. It's going to be everything in there. Okay, and that's part of the reason why it's going to be a year, you know, because it's going to.
We want you to have something to apply.
Yeah, we want you to have something to practice on hands-on. Okay, and you know, we got to get through A&P, and we got to get through menses and hormones, and we got to get through fertility and conception, and then we got to get through first trimester embryo development, and then we got to get through second trimester, and then we got to get through I think in that time we'll do a doula certification, and then we got to get through what does prenatal care look like, you know, so we got to get through a lot to really have enough for the hands-on practice portion. This first one, the other ones obviously won't be as spaced out, because we'll have a lot more in a lot shorter time that needs hands-on practice. Okay, and all those, you know, and that's where we're committed to having those practice materials there for you guys, and you know, helping with travel when we can. And there will be additional workshops, but those, again, probably those won't be scheduled until after the first in-person gathering, because we want the workshops to be reflective of what you guys are currently in. So it doesn't make sense if we're barely getting into embryology and first trimester and trying to conceive, and we're teaching you about breech and NRP in a workshop. You know, so when we get to those topics, we're going to try and align those workshops with the knowledge base appropriately.
And we don't, there are no firm set dates yet for this first one, right?
Our first in-person one will be
I know October, but
mid to late October 2025.
okay.
Yep. Okay. Anything else so far? Okay. Let's take a breath, take a potty break. I'm solo parenting for the next 10 days, so I need to make sure that the house is not on fire somewhere real quick, and I have to pee too, so take 5 minutes. Hey, you don't get to be stirred.
I love when Jane's dyslexia comes out.
She
Mom.
said the noon Wednesday to noon Tuesday.
Mom.
Mm-hmm. And my internet is being really wonk. I'll blame the fire, but it may not be that. Did everybody catch that the first in-person gathering should be 10:25?
Okay. I can't see. I can't see everybody's faces. Did anybody else step away?
I don't think so.
Oh, just me with a grandma bladder?
Well, you know.
No, me too. Grandma
Okay.
bladder's headed to the. Oh my God, I gotta go so bad. Goodbye.
Okay. So everybody back? Are we all here? You throw some thumbs up.
I believe so, Jane.
Okay, because I don't get to see anything when I'm sharing my screen. It's kind of weird. Whoops. Okay, so what's next? We are not lecturing on Unit 3 today because we don't have everybody's submissions, and we haven't much less not read them, much less know what we can be helpful on lecturing on. Okay, so we have a hard deadline for 11:59 tonight. and we will lecture on topic next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Okay. And we are going to incorporate a teach back, basically. We're going to assign everybody some questions that they will have to start the lecture on next week and submit the source documents. Okay, so I divided up the questions, and I'll put this in the unit too. But these are who gets what questions, and these are the questions from the unit. Okay. And then part of the lecture, we're going to decide what these definitions are, what they mean to us.
Do you have 2 questions for Shoshana, Jane?
Yep, I do. I tacked on,
Okay.
I went back and I tacked this one to that one, and yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yep. So I tried to be as fair as possible, you know, not trying to make anybody feel like they're being dumped on. And so when we lecture, when we have our lecture, you're gonna start the question that you're assigned to, and then we will fill in the blanks or add on to it. And discuss it. Any questions about this so far?
Do you want it on no later than 11:59 a.m. October 16th? Or are you talking 23:59?
Yeah, sorry, hold on. No, I meant for there to be a PM there. Yeah,
So-
that's the thing, is our brains thinking military time. Stop. Oh, I probably can't do that in. Okay, yeah, so it's 11:59 p.m. So that will be
On the 15th,
nope, on the 16th. That'll be after lecture.
the after lecture. Okay.
Yep. So I'll add a PM there. So the source, and again, like I said, I'll add another
Dropbox.
for your source documents. And please include anything that you utilize for your short essay questions and your lecture prep.
Okay, I don't want to sound dumb, but so 11. So we got assigned a question, and that's due at 11:59 p.m. tonight, or that?
No, what's due tonight is your Unit 3 topics.
Okay.
At 11:59 tonight is a hard deadline. 11:59 tonight.
Okay. And then we are prepping our question.
Yep.
For a 6 p.m. call a week from today.
On the 16th.
And then what do we have to hand in then that day?
So whatever your sources that you're using for that teach back.
And your essay questions. So if you went to NARM and utilize NARM for a definition, then you write down narm.org. Okay. If you utilize the textbook, then you just write, Barney's. If you utilized, I don't know, a Facebook post in Midwives Anonymous, then You write that down. Sourced Midwives Anonymous for answer on, what's the definition of a CPM. Okay, if you just Googled it, you can just say Google source in whatever website it took you to that you got a definition for or an explanation that you felt was helpful to prepare for your lecture question.
And then after the lecture call, you'll upload that no later than just before midnight.
Okay.
Okay, and then I will open Unit 4 after the submission closes on the 16th, and that will be available to access. Again, you just got to open it so it stays in your portfolio until the 20th.
Does that make sense? Since we don't have all of Unit 3 submissions, we're not opening Unit 4.
That makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense, but yeah, if we're submitted it and we're done and we did all the sourcing, is there not?
Then you get a week break, or you can work on your teach back lecture.
Yeah, work on what you want to lecture for your question.
And you're going to share our questions again?
Yep, I will post this. I'll post this in the unit, how I divided up the questions.
Is there a time frame that a student should anticipate they can use as their teach back time on their question for the October 16th call?
No, because we don't, I don't structure my lecturing that way. So however we organically lecture is how we lecture.
Perfect.
Yep. So, and some of the questions, I mean, it would kind of be overkill to, like, if I said, okay, you have to talk about this for 20 minutes, I would rather do quality over quantity.
Yep. Well said.
Okay, anybody else want this up for right now? But I will put this in PDF in the unit. Okay. And partly too, because I do want you guys to include your perspective on it too. Like, yes, there's some that say, what's the definition, what's the type, but include your take on it too. Like, make it your own. Does that make sense? Because I mean, we can all Google some of these too. But this is part of where we're practicing. Like, how would you talk about these questions or about this topic to a family asking you this question?
And you will get them.
Yeah, and you will get all of these. So it can be very conversational. I'm not looking for, a regurgitated definition, black and white in its entirety, and that's it. Okay. How would you, that's actually the best way to approach it. If you had a potential client or a woman that you were supporting and she was asking you these questions, how are you going to drive this conversation? How are you going to convey that knowledge organically? I mean, and some women do, they like the textbook style. They want the black and white answer. And some of them want to jaw your ear off about it for 45 minutes when it's really like a 2-second definition. But there again, that's like, it's part of it is information conveying. We want to know, how do you perceive this technical information? And part of it is becoming comfortable with being engaged in these conversations too. Switch. Oh, okay. And these teach backs, this is a warm-up. We will be utilizing these in the future. When we start talking about case studies and peer reviews, when we start doing basically like client examples, you know, we are going to have a section where we just talk about birth stories. How do you listen and give reflective, pertinent feedback when you're visiting with a mom the first time and you're like, okay, you know, well, how did your previous birth go? And she goes on and on and on about this and on and on and on about that. And how do you extrapolate what's pertinent to supporting her this time? And where do you, you know, give reflective feedback? And where are there times when you just like, okay, we're going to blaze past that because we can't touch that with a 10-foot pole because it'll actually potentially cause problems in this pregnancy, and you can't literally do anything about what a doctor did 4 pregnancies ago, but she's still holding on to that, and that's valid. Okay, but sometimes helping her examine those are pertinent to this pregnancy that you're supporting her in, and sometimes it's not. Okay. Anything? Any other questions about this?
No, but the rationale is so spot on. It's so empowering. You know, it's so real.
What if we're not completely done with Unit 3?
So that goes back to tonight's hard deadline of 11:59.
Okay, so you just want it up, you want it on there no matter what, how far we can get.
Whatever you feel ready to submit by 11:59 tonight for Unit 3.
Okay.
Switch. How come you're not? My touch screen is not touching. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Anything else before we step forward? Okay. I'm gonna take a second to recommend revisiting Unit 3 journaling, and also potentially maybe doing a separate journaling about, you know, goals, redefining your goals. And a plug in here for Dr. Jenny. She's got some great activities. Even though a couple of them she tested out on me by willingness or unwillingness. I won't say which one. Erica, hand him to me. But just an idea. Okay, and maybe I think Taylor's idea of doing a shared calendar, you know, making more or different or additional study buddy connections or networking, or, you know, I mean, by all means, if you guys want to create a time every other week to have your own Zoom calls together, go for it. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Otherwise, that's it for us tonight. I want to take a second, to acknowledge this what we're creating, all the wish making and seeds for the future that we're creating. I don't know about everybody's community, but I can definitely say that the communities that I'm active in, they need us. They need what we're creating. And I think that there are some changes, not trying to, get political or socioeconomical or anything. But it's true. And it also in the sense of the future is always changing. And sometimes the need for our type of knowledge and our type of skills and capabilities are needed a lot sooner than what the collective community realizes that it's needed. So I really appreciate everybody in our cohort. I know firsthand, intimately, the struggles, mental, emotional, and physical sometimes about balancing this. And I appreciate all of your guys' sacrifices in doing so. And I acknowledge it too. So, with Goshtade, we do not hey. I really appreciate you guys.
And I just want to add that every time we hit a hiccup, it's dealt with so much faster, and we're able to see, okay, hey, let's correct this right away. Where are you at with this? And we're really trying hard to look at how best can we adapt this program for all of us. Jane and I, Millicent included. What are we needing from this? How are we structuring our time and our attention and all of these different things? And I think that, in a couple of years, when you guys are out there serving families, none of us are going to care that the first 3 units were really hard to get off the ground. Right? None of us are going to care. We're going to be like, yeah, that was a rough go, man, but we did it. And I think that that's my wish making for the future, is that I'm already looking at you guys as traditionally practicing midwives. I'm already anticipating you guys working in your communities, you guys building families around you. I'm already anticipating the 4 a.m. phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I've got a gal that needs XYZ and I'm stumped. All right, I got you. Have you tried XYZ? I'm already looking that far forward. We just have to figure out how we're going to come together and support each other and do that. And I think that sometimes once we start getting into the meat, I think it's going to feel like it's going by really, really fast. It's really hard to spend a lot of time in self-reflection because we don't actually give ourselves enough of that grace. So we've purposefully tried to slow down to encourage that self-care. Because if you haven't built a habit of it up until this point, really reflecting, really taking your inventory, and not always in a bad way, right? Not always beating ourselves down, but being able to say, hey, I did a great thing for this family today, and that was really tough. Having that self-reflection, there's nobody that's going to be harder on yourself than you are in midwifery. There's no one. So practicing this little bit of self-care, practicing a little bit of self-reflection, and really being able to say, hey, I need some help with this. I'm struggling with this. Reach out to us. Our goal is to help you. But I'm already getting ahead of myself and anticipating you guys already practicing. Like, I'm excited for that. I think your communities are going to be revolutionized by this. And so taking a moment to understand that what we're asking of you are things that were asked of us without any safety net, without any training wheels, and sometimes on the back of heartache. Like, we want you guys to be confident, to know yourselves, and to know what you bring to your communities. And part of that is, you know, looking at yourselves as traditional midwives already, and kind of getting that thinking cap on, you know, and not wanting, you know, the information to just be rolled out on a red carpet, because traditional midwifery is not that kind. But you guys have a huge support system available to you. And we want you guys to utilize that. And we want to be able to be flexible to what your guys' needs are, like changing the office hours to a different day. I can do that. That's an easy accommodation. We just need to know that that's where people are at. I think that sometimes we get like, oh, I don't want to be the one to be like, that day doesn't work for me. Well, throw it out there, because you're probably not the only one. And we can make those accommodations in real time for you guys. And that is our desire for this program, is that it's alive, and that it has strength, and it has vulnerability. And I think that our seeds for the future are going to put forth really good fruit. And I'm excited to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I only have one thing to say, and that is because I do energy work. I believe that I don't think we're going to have so much of silence anymore, where our throat chakras are blocked for whatever reason. And I think that also to reach out to all the students, all of the cohort, start learning who you are from each other. Just take that time to just touch base. You're not alone. We don't want you to be alone, meaning that 3 of us are available, but you as a cohort should also be available to each other. So don't let anybody get stuck. Reach out. You do not have to solve anybody's problems. That isn't our place. But you can say, you can just say that, hey, I'm just calling to check on you, and let you know that I'm thinking good thoughts. Or if you want to discuss something about school, but really do start becoming a team. Start becoming a group, a great group of relatives, even for the ones across the border. You know, because we have Dina, who's across the border. We have Cheyenne and Amaris and Amanda. You know, so phone call doesn't hurt. Email doesn't hurt. But please do that for each and every one of you. So, Mino Chige, that means that you guys are all doing good work. Keep it up. I enjoyed the visit tonight. Really enjoyed the visit tonight. So, Gretch.
Like to go stay. Anything else for anybody before we sign off for the night?
I just really love your picture
Thanks.
on there. I made myself a book and I like printed it off the other one.
Nice.
I have to have it like written out for me.
Oh, just so you know, in November, there is going to be a midwifery conference down in Minneapolis. And that's if you want to meet it's open to every walk of life who does birth work. It's going to be physicians, midwives of all different trainings, doulas, chiropractors, massage therapists. But just let you know that and we haven't heard back from Jade if she's going to be able to make it, but I know Jane and I will be there. We'll have a table with the midwifery program. So
I'll be
and
there.
then- yeah. So if you want to share that information, I don't have it on me right now, but yeah. Mhm.
And it looks good for me so far. My surgeon appointment this week is going to help me narrow some of that down, Auntie.
Okay. All right. All right. Good night, ladies.
Thank you.
Good night.
And Jane, I was thinking of your image too. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I was actually thinking of Tree Peterson in Scandinavia, Wisconsin, and how if you had apprenticed with her, it wouldn't be possible to be leading in the capacity that you're leading, because although she was a traditional white woman and rather a white Scandinavia community, you know, an earth woman, you know, centered from the 60s and early 70s, her practice is so set in a community that is so set. And these women are going out into communities that we can't even imagine. They're not even created yet, you know? It's so empowering to hear what this whole cohort is up to. Because the future is different. And even though we're saying, you know, traditional, rural, midwifery, you know, the commonalities are few. It's just such an exciting time what these women are up to. Thank you for leading this, Jade and Jane.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Well, with that,
Need to leave. Just kidding.
right.
Yeah. No problem, man.
Well, I'll stay on all night and shoot the breeze. So, but yeah, and I'll be up too. You know, so if anybody shoots a message into WhatsApp or the email, you know, I will I'll be available to answer anything. Because I know, you know, the deadline, it's a crunch, but I really want us to stay on track and stay on task collectively. And I absolutely agree that with my twin that the harshest, most cynical critic that you will ever come up against is the one in your mind. And you know, giving ourselves grace that we're doing the best that we can was one of the hardest things for me to learn and accept for myself, you know. It took me lots of situations and lots of snot bubble tears about things I literally had no way of changing any other outcome than what I did in the moment and in the situation. But you know, it's unfortunate in the sense that tends to be pretty indicative of the women that have capacity to do this support work. So with that,
Yeah.
yeah, way to go, Stade. Way do not hate. Appreciate you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know what I was gonna ask. Did someone have the dates for when that's in Minneapolis?
I have to look.
Um,
This
it's like November
7th to the 10th,
Yeah.
I think.
It's the
November
it's
7th through the 10th.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, Auntie's still here. Can we post that in WhatsApp?
Yeah, I will. I'll
Thank
do
you.
that. Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And I'm gonna be there with as few Rugrats as possible. Okay. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your sacrifices, guys. Go Wits. Yeah. Good night.
And I,
Thank you.
Thank you.
abrazos fuertes, guys.
Good night.
Good night.